Thanks, Justin. John, I'd never met Justin before today, so I was glad to be able to have you to come, and thanks for being willing to come. And look forward to developing a friendship with you more. Oh yeah.
Who downloaded the app?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Oh yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Slick Rick with the full suit on. What size are you?
Medium or large.
Okay, it is a large size. It's like, well, download the app. Don't let your calories go to waste. Thank you, dude.
Thanks. John, on the other hand, I've known for 5 or 6 years. We met a while ago. He's going to talk to you a little bit about the economy of communion. It's an organization that was started. Really, there's a group called the Focolari in World War II in Italy. People were getting bombed. There was a young woman named Shira Lubick, and she saw that there were people around her that didn't have anything because their places got bombed. And so she said, let's start sharing with one another. So she and this group of young Christians got together and started sharing. They'd take down lists of things, then they'd get together with the things that were needed. They'd go and distribute them. And they just found there was always enough to share. And so they started this, they started reading the Bible together. And it became a worldwide movement. The Focolari is a worldwide movement. This, fast forward into 1991, she went to Brazil. She was visiting some Focolari there. And they found that she found that there's a lot of poverty in that area. And she said, well, how aren't these are your members? Why aren't you helping them? They said, there's just too much poverty. We don't have enough to even share with everybody. She said, well, what else can we do? And what they came up with was what's called the economy of communion. And what it is, it's an idea of trying to create businesses so that people can actually be employed and make money instead of having charity. And so that was the whole idea of the economy of communion, is that you use private enterprise to help people to gain the dignity of working for their own money. And so that was the idea behind it. John started his company in 1995, just a few years later, with his wife. And now they've been doing that for the last 28 years. And so John has become a real head in the ESC. He's on the national board for North America, but also internationally. He works with the youth organization for EOC. So we're getting someone who doesn't just have a really cool company that does a lot of environmentally conscientious stuff with, they did the largest cleanup in Brazil a few years ago for pollution. So they do things worldwide. He's got a great company. He's also radically involved in economy of communion, and he's a good person to come here and tell us about it. So thanks for being here, John.
Great, thanks. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give you like a 2-minute video on this to give you a little perspective. That helps. So why don't we just go ahead and try running that if I can. Can you hear anything? It was.
Today we face a growing number of challenges around the world. Poverty and growing inequality are among the most pressing of these challenges, and whether directly or indirectly affect us all. However, there are promising efforts underway to make a difference. The economy of communion is one of these efforts designed to create a positive and profound social transformation. We are a group of entrepreneurs and community leaders, of teachers and students, all of whom share a desire to build a more just, inclusive, and sustainable economy. The purpose of the economy of communion is to build bridges between those with resources and those in need, fostering mutual relationships founded on dignity and equality. We seek to nurture a culture of giving and communion, and believe that to be a successful company, it's not enough to generate income and redistribute wealth. For over 25 years, we have launched initiatives that generate a positive social impact. Through entrepreneurial activities and education, we have increased the possibilities of job generation and income for those with economic challenges, strengthened individuals' commitment to civic engagement, and pooled and shared financial resources, time, and expertise to directly address social and economic conditions of vulnerability around the world. How do we do this? We have an international network of over 800 companies in more than 50 countries They share their business experience and resources. We have business centers that support and house participating ventures. Our International Business Incubator Network supports the development of new businesses in more than 13 countries through entrepreneurial training. We have an international internship program that provides hands-on experience for young people interested in learning how to run an EOC company. We hold workshops on entrepreneurship and business culture, which prepare young people to pursue their dreams. Want to be part of the economy of communion? We need people who believe in their ability to make a difference in the world. Join our Economy of Communion Association. Participate in our workshops. Become an investor and more. Your investment will contribute directly to reducing the negative impacts of poverty around the world, while creating new opportunities for those who need it most. Directly.
Some good pictures in there. Yeah. So, turn on the lights.
I'll get that going, John. You can talk.
Okay. So there was a lot to absorb there. That was put together by some interns last summer. One of their projects to try to describe to regular people what this thing is. What is the economy of communion? I started out as a head of technology in a large environmental company that I helped create over 25 years ago. And it was all founded on great American capitalist model of, making lots of money, profits, everybody motivated by monetary kind of things. And, I wasn't really happy with that because I had this desire to kind of merge my personal belief system with what I do during work. So when we heard about this Chiara Lubick, who came to Brazil in 1991, and we saw what was happening down there, my wife, Julie, and I were like, hey, this could be something significant. I mean, this could be a game changer. If we were able to create businesses that shared profits and redistributed them and helped the poor, and we knew that that kind of experience could be pretty amazing. And I won't say we joined right away because it took a little bit of effort, but we went on and finally decided, this vision of trying to create a more fraternal economy where we cared about each other was really attractive to us. So we decided to join, and Chiara Lubick, who was still alive at that time, gave us an operating motto: there's more joy in giving than receiving. And that kind of gave us kind of a direction. Like, okay, we understand this could be. It was a little scary because I had 4 kids. None of them had gone to college. What do you mean giving away the profits? How? Am I going to have someone looking over my shoulder taking money out of my company? And it wasn't anything like that at all. It's all in total freedom. So what is the economy of communion? Over here.
Sorry, you might have to just push the button.
Yeah, I'll just do this, right? So really the idea about the economy of communion is really to promote, the whole idea is to promote this global culture of giving and social justice through businesses, animated through these values of fraternity. And the vision really is about to build a more just and humane economy where everyone, where really receiving and giving are seen as equal partners. It's not like, oh, the giver, the companies are these great kind of entities and the receivers are the poor, destitute people. No, it's really this kind of dynamic that happens. And so really what we find out really when we get down to it is it's really creating this atmosphere where relationships are key in business. And anybody who runs a business can say, well, relationships are good in any business, right? Yeah, well, they are. But the kind of relationships we really try to think about aren't only with your clients who pay the bills or your vendors who supply you, it's with a host of people, including the community in which you operate, the geographic community. It's about with those in need in that same geographic community. but it's also about other people who want to become involved in this. It's not, even though it's driven by business, it's also supported through a network of young people and academics. So, so that was pretty cool. So this was all new 25 years ago. I mean, it was like, okay, how do we do this? This hasn't been done before. Kiara gave us this vision, but what do you do every day, So really, it really began where, we started. I'd gone from a company to help build of 2,900 people to a company of one, me. So it's really easy to be loving to yourself, right? There's only you every day, But the idea, though, is that I had to start with myself first. I had to begin working on myself, and I had to decide, did I want to adopt this this lifestyle of communion as my driving force in business, where everything, even though it was important to make money, have profits, to grow, it is just as important to focus on these relationships in an intense way. So that was the first thing, working on yourself, really trying to also live this integrated life we talked about of marrying your values to also what you do every day. So what is that? What do you do when you do that? I mean, what does that day look like? Well, if you're, what I often say is, if you have to start looking at people differently. We know that when each person in a company has value and purpose, but you have to treat people, no matter what they do every day, what their station in the company, equally. And kind of like this, you say, how would God look at people? I think God would look at people the same, no matter if it's the FedEx man or your housekeeper cleaning your office or the VP of your client. They all have equal value, and you don't get to pick anymore who you like and who you don't like, which is really something, like speaking of a triathlete, it's kind of a loving triathlete. You have to begin practicing this, because it doesn't come easy, because naturally I look at someone, I go, I don't like that guy. I'm not going to give him a shot. Or this employee really bothers me. He or she's not doing her job. So you have to begin training yourself to really kind of adopt that inside, that kind of loving attitude, like, hey, this is the person that's put before me in this moment, and my life's meaning is derived from those relationships. So everyone's important. So it really encourages loving people. It encourages loving concretely everyone you come in contact with. These are some of the values. First, to help others. Value every person, every idea. Support with actions, not words. It's great to say, hey, can I help you? It's another thing to help you. Build relationships every day. Share expertise, time yourself. I often say that one, time is so important in business. We have very little of it, so that when you actually stop and share your time and yourself, it's an amazing thing in business. And clients feel that, as well as your employees, as well as community people. So, and I like this last one. We often talk about competitors can be friends too. What the heck is that? I mean, aren't we supposed to drive competitors into the ground? Isn't that what made America great? No, it's an idea that there are things to be learned from competitors and relationships to be built that I can tell you. So if we have time, I'll tell you a few things like that. So this idea, so my wife and I kind of jumped into this, and we began growing the company, adding a person a year. We began the company downtown Indianapolis in a really rundown area. I'd come out every night and I'd step over homeless people in the building we were in. Across the street were prisoners coming out, or people coming out of prison that were just released. My car was broken into, blah, blah, blah. The idea is that we don't kind of separate. It would have been easy to stay out of that area, but it's really this idea of kind of being with the company right there and making a difference. And I can tell you, I didn't like poor people sometimes. I didn't like people going to the bathroom on my steps. I sometimes walked across the street to avoid them. And yet these were the people I was supposed to be helping with my company. So again, it was this trading, kind of this training you had to go through to say, no, I'm going toward that person. I'm finding out who they are. I'm seeing what we can do to help, instead of avoiding someone or giving them money. Hey, let's go eat at Subway together, whoa, you mean you're going to give this person time now? So a lot of conversion happened. So we started one place and then we moved to another place on the other side of the city. Same thing. People needing a lot of help, rundown area, soup kitchen across the street from our place at a church every week. And what I really want to emphasize as part of this is that this economy of communion is really about, when you talk about a united world and helping people all across the planet and locally, we really see ourselves as weavers of community, as the business is an active part of that kind of activity locally. And that starts with small things like employees seeing that you give them time to work on social projects in the community, or that you decide to adopt protocols that say we're not going to buy anything that's not given made in the neighborhood, or we're not going to use any supporting contractor that doesn't live within 5 miles, even if it's more expensive. All you finance people back there are going, what? Minimize cost, So this idea of becoming a community support weaver, I got another one. That's our community. This idea of really being integrated into your community, even if those people don't buy your products or services, is part of this. It's part of this network that we form. So you can see Mundell. I've got various. We have a location for our buildings right over here. We ended up buying a couple of other buildings to house some of our interns that we have every year from different countries to talk about the economy of communion. Every time a new restaurant opens up, all of our employees are given free passes to eat at the businesses, so they feel like they're part of who we are. So a lot of energy, and I would say this, when you start looking at yourself geographically and saying, what kind of relationships do we have? It's really an examination of conscience sometimes, like, wow, we're avoiding this part, what's going on? So yeah, this is all about the part of building these kind of relationships community-wise. Every Thursday, we've had relationships with this church where we go and we work at food pantries. Some of the employees volunteer at different times if they can help. Others have, there are schools on this map here and here where we've gone and taught young people about environmental science because we're environmental people. That's what we do. We're geology, or hold Earth Day celebrations for them. So depending on the kind of business, the EOC business you have, you can focus on different things, right? We're environmental consultants, so we focus on the earth here's one example of bringing kids over to teach them what we do. How do you take samples? What kind of education do you need for becoming kind of this kind of scientist or engineer? Also helping clean up houses that are destitute. We have had several company days where we go as a company and do what Andy does, but this is people a lot less effective because we don't know what we're doing, but helping rehab houses or cleaning up contamination. This is a group that worked on a school project. It was building building a rain garden to help take the water from a school building and treat it before it went discharged into a river. So I think what I want to do is I want to give you an example, because we don't have that much time, kind of an example of an experience that we had where one of our interns, 2 interns, one from Colombia, one from Brazil, came and learned about the economy of communion one summer. And they thought, okay, we need to practice this with the community. Well, let's go get a cup of coffee. So they went to, let's go back. They went to, a coffee house down the street, and they walked into the shop, and there's a long line, and they're waiting there. And they're seeing someone hustling around, serving clients, and things are not going well. I mean, something was amiss, you know? So they got up closer and closer. Finally, they were up the front, and they kind of they thought, okay, we need to develop relationships, right? We're learning about this internship. They started asking her, how's it going today? She goes, how's it going? It is terrible. My supplier didn't show up. I've had some arguments with a member of the family. And to top it all off, today's my birthday. And they go, wow. So they really were trying to talk to her and, you know, have a little dialogue. And so they went out with a coffee and they said, you know, we need to do something. This is the economy of communion. What can we do to help the situation? And they thought, oh, we'll go across the street and we'll buy her a birthday present. So they walked across the street, got a present, got back in line. The line was not very long at that point. They got up again and they got to the front. And she goes, what are you guys doing here again? And they smiled at each other and they reached back behind and said, happy birthday. And the lady looked at them. This is for me? This is for my birthday? And then she started to cry. And I always get choked up when I think about this because it's such a lesson. Well, that's not the end of the story, though. They left, had a nice exchange, left. 2 weeks later, a bunch of our employees went to the same coffee house, came in, and it was a nice day. She's working. Hey, where are you guys from? Oh, we work at Mundell and Associates. Mundell and Associates. You have the best employees in the whole world. All the employees left that day with free coffee. And I think, you know, we don't have much time, but I think this is one small example of what we try to live in this style of business, where the business comes into a community, starts trying to help it, transform it, offer whatever it can, and reciprocally, the community does the same thing to the business. And I often think what an amazing world this would be if we were able to inject this divine enzyme into every business, what the world could be like. That's a little bit of what the economy of communion is about. Thank you.